In this video, I'm going to show you some tips on how to draw from a reference picture to get your drawing to look as close to the reference picture as possible. So I'm going to be holding my paper long and tall because the orientation of this picture or the object or thing that I'm drawing is kind of skinnier than it is long. But if you are drawing something that's sort of a little bit wider, like let's say it was like this, you would be turning the paper this way, okay? But for our sake, right now I'm going to be doing this in a portrait orientation. But just take a look at the image that you're drawing and make sure that it's fitting the page nice, because one of the things that we're going to do is we are going to draw this filling the entire page, which I know can be kind of tricky. So the first thing that we want to do is kind of figure out where the center of the page is, because the thing that we are going to be drawing is symmetrical or same on both sides. So we can lightly draw a line down the center. Another thing that you can do if you want, and this can be really helpful, is to fold the paper over. And since for this particular project, we're gonna actually make these little insects look like they're popping up in 3D, you can do that as well, okay? So you can either follow that fold line or you can sketch a line down the center. But make sure that you're drawing really, really light, because we're gonna be erasing this line later. We're not gonna need it. The first thing I want to do is I want to just block in the basic shapes. So sometimes when I see kids drawing from a picture, they might draw it super, super detailed and get every little part of it that they can, and it looks so nice, and then they realize that they drew everything entirely too small. So you see how tiny that head is? Oof, I can't do that. So you're gonna start by just blocking out shapes. So very, very lightly, you're gonna do a placeholder shape. So you're gonna figure, okay, the head is sort of an oval shape. Let me give myself some space because these little horns kind of go up there. I'm gonna do an oval for the head. Okay, now I'm drawing a little bit darker here so it shows up on camera. You are going to be drawing as light as possible. I want to walk over to your paper to have to see what you're drawing. Like if I see you drawing from across the room, I should look at your paper and be like, oh, they didn't even do any work yet. And then I walk over and I see that you're actually halfway done. So try to make it that light. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this kind of top half of his body. It's sort of almost like a little bit of a triangle shape. And then this is sort of an oval with the top cut off, or almost like a letter U. So I'm looking for shapes that I recognize easily, or letters or lines. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of like a U, that's like an oval, that's sort of a triangle. And that will help me just to get the basics down. Then, very lightly, I'm just gonna block in where the other things go. So even though I know that these legs are not sticks once they're actually drawn, I'm just gonna put a little placeholder in for them. Now I have my composition, my way that I use my space on the page. Now I can go in, because I know everything is proportionate, going to all match size, I can start drawing. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna notice these little horns. They're kind of like a curved triangle. And again, you're drawing really, really light so that you can erase and make changes if you need to. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look for another recognizable shape. I see an oval that goes on the side and almost touches that triangle. Now that I have that, I can erase my placeholder oval because I'm not going to need that. So don't don't like assume, oh, I have to use this oval exactly the way it is. It's just a quick one that's a placeholder. It's not like the final shape that you're gonna have there. Okay, I'm gonna actually move this down a little bit because I brought it up too high. So you're gonna go in and look for every little detail. Don't color anything in yet. So like this is black, don't shade those little horns in because we're gonna be doing some other really cool things with this. And we don't wanna mess up our colors. Now, if while you're doing this, you make something too small or too big, you will have erased, you'll be able to erase it really easily because you are going to draw so light. Now, even here, I'm drawing it starting as a stick, but I'm going to turn it into a shape. Okay, so I'm gonna go through this whole thing and I'm gonna really pay attention to what kinds of shapes are in there. I'm also gonna notice how big things are compared to each other. So, for example, when I come to this part here, I'll notice that this line almost touches the bottom of the head and almost touches the bottom of that shape. And then this little shape on the side, if I look over here, first of all, the corners of my, that little triangle now get curved. So I erase sort of what I had before. And when I look at this shape, it comes about halfway up that kind of triangle body part. So I'm noticing how big things are in relationship to each other and where they're located, where they stop, where they end. This is going to be a little challenging, but it is the more that you can draw carefully and really pay attention to what you're drawing and what you're looking at. So see, now I get to erase this part. The better you are going to be at drawing. So even this shape, I'm breaking it down into simpler things. So I see next to the eye, it sort of is a curved line and a curved line. Then it sort of comes down, almost like part of a triangle. Then it goes across. And then this is rounded and this is rounded and then that connects. So I don't just know how to draw this off the top of my head. I'm observing it. I'm looking at it so carefully and paying attention, looking for those recognizable shapes, familiar things like, you know, the letter U, the letter V, rectangles, triangles, ovals, things like that. And that is going to really help me to make my drawing look spectacular.